welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. Alright, so you're here with me on the show and I have Alistair Sabarimutu, and he's been speaking to us about the Serendip Cup, which is a Tri-Nations tournament that's happening here in Sri Lanka, IRB sanction. Now tell us again how important this IRB sanction is for this particular tournament in the terms of a Sri Lankan context.
Sure, well it's the first time ever, and in rugby terms especially, that the world governing body has put its rubber stamp on a tournament to be played in Sri Lanka. I mean, it could have been played anywhere in Asia or anywhere in the world. But, you know, I made this proposal to them several months ago and said, look, we want this tournament, we're ready, we're on the curve, we want World Cup qualification, give us a go, let's do it, you know. Great for Asia, great for rugby. So it was 2 months of negotiations and demonstrations of our ability and our hunger to be a great nation, you know. And one that comes through Asian as the new boys. So yeah, it's huge for the country. There's absolutely no question about that.
Alright, so that means that it really is a completely international standard tournament that's happening here in Sri Lanka for the very first time. And as you mentioned earlier, the first time that an African team and the first time that a European team are going to be here in the country as well. But speaking about our boys, now the captain is MP Nama Rajapaksa. So how is he in terms of shaping up the boys and, you know, getting them all geared up for this tournament?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I've seen him training on a number of occasions, and you know, he puts everything into it. Namal, he really puts a lot into it, and you know, he is a born leader, and the boys follow him and they follow his lead. But he's picked up a few little injuries on the way. Last week I saw him. He had a problem with one of his fingers, and he wasn't able to do contact. But you know, he's training hard, and he might not be the fittest he's ever been in his career, but one thing is for sure, that he's got the heart of a lion, and he'll be out there and he'll be leading from the front, and again, we need 15 Namels on Saturday.
Alright, so heart of a lion, that's what our boys need to get through this particular tournament, because as you mentioned, this is going to be one hell of a tournament, I think is the word that you used yesterday. But let's talk about the appointments that you see happening here in the Sri Lanka Rugby Football Union as well. Do you see a lot of changes happening in the structure and, you know, a lot of good things happening?
Sure, absolutely. There's no question change has to happen. Everybody acknowledges that now. And if they don't, it's just one of those things. Sometimes change is uncomfortable for everybody, for certain people. But change has to happen. I think if the country want to fulfill its potential, then professionalism has to be embraced. And at the Rugby Football Union, there's some very good people. I've been involved in a number of meetings, and there's a lot of things said, and I believe it's healthy for all these opinions to come out, but there can only be one move and one strategy, and I think embracing professionalism and bringing people like me into it, you know, we've got to lead the way, and we've got to bring people on, and I think over the coming 6-12 months, I think you'll find there's going to be a number of changes for the better. I'm going to say changes. I'm not talking about radical changes. I'm talking about just in strategic plays, in how we deal with schools, and how we take club rugby to another level, and how we bring competitions in, and you know, all these, taking it to the next level is going to be what's going to be key over the next 12 months.
Yeah, of course. And what kind of experience do you bring to the table, Alistair, in the capacity of CEO? Now, you're someone who's had extensive experience in the rugby arena. I mean, you played from the time you played rugby for England.
Yeah,
so
sure.
What kind of experience do you plan on bringing?
Well, I think from a playing point of view, you know, I've done everything in rugby from a playing point of view. You know, I was born into rugby, and I was fortunate to be a professional player, represented England at different levels, and I come from a family of rugby mad brothers and everything
What's
else.
interesting is you mentioned earlier that your brother played for Ireland and you played for England, so I'm sure there was a great family table discussion happening.
There was. Mum's Irish, Dad's Sri Lankan, and we were caught right in the middle. We had some great fun, and Ireland is a fantastic country, and you know, I can remember one time the three of us were bringing different national and international shirts home, to having played different tests around the world, and you know, it's just great to be involved in a family like that, where rugby is such a key thing. But over the last 10 years, I've been fortunate to been running football clubs, Premier League and Football League clubs over the last 10 years. And football is a phenomenon. Football is the most financially driven sport in the world today. So I've got a lot of experience in that, in building brands, in connecting to your audience, in creating commercial propositions, in having accountability, department-run organisations. These are the things that I've had and implemented in the last 10 years. So I think at my grand old age now, I think there couldn't be a better time for me, and equally a better time for Sri Lanka to soak up these experiences and expertise. And being half Sri Lankan, you know, I've got roots here, so you know, from my point of view, there couldn't be a better place for me at this point of my career.
Because, I mean, as you mentioned, it's great that you've come back to somewhere where you do have roots.
Sure. Yeah.
And where there's, as you mentioned yesterday as well, there's a lot of potential to really improve and bring out players who are at school level now, but you can really put the formula into place so that they can grow into great players for Sri Lanka.
Yes.
But you spoke earlier as well yesterday about how important the commercialization of the game is, to get the crowds involved, to get the corporates involved. Can we just go through that again and just reiterate the fact that what the Serendip Cup can do?
Sure. Well, again, I've made it very, very clear. For this country to develop its rugby, we need to inject finance. It's a professional sport. By the nature of it being professional, we need to pay players, we need to pay coaches, we need to pay nutritionists, power and condition experts. So when you're paying out, somehow you've got to get the money back in, because it's not a bottomless pit. So for me, when I first came in, I was trying to connect the brand and understand the place it had in the country. And whilst people were fanatical about rugby, I wanted to know who they were, and could someone show me the names and addresses? And of course, we don't have anything like that. So I knew that we had to spend 3 months in really building what we thought was the right brand, one that's 100+ years old, but give it a commercial edge. And once I was doing that, I realised that, look, we need a tournament in this country. We need something where sponsors can get meaningful return on investment, and we can introduce international plays into the commercial business, and not least put Sri Lanka, export the fantastic rugby that we have into Africa and into Europe. Because 6 months ago I didn't even know Sri Lanka played rugby seriously, and I'm half Sri Lankan and I'm an ex-player. So if I didn't know, then
how many other people don't know?
Absolutely. But I can tell you now, in one headline with the IRB, everybody knows Sri Lanka plays rugby, but not just plays it, play it seriously.
And has been playing it for a while now, actually.
Oh, immensely, yeah. They go back as far, if not further, than the English and other organisations.
Even I didn't know that, actually. All right, but will this also lead to our players getting more exposure abroad, where, you know, these countries will then in turn invite the Sri Lankan team to come to their countries and experience the exposure there?
Sure.
So what kind of future does this foretell for Sri Lankan rugby and the Sri Lankan team?
Well, I think, talking about a professional league, there's no question that once we start playing these sort of tournaments, including the Carlton Sevens, it's just being played, where all the international players came into our zone. People are going to start seeing some of the Sri Lankan potential, and there's clubs all around the world, and you might find some of our players actually playing in foreign leagues.
That would be
as far as Sri Lanka goes, if we can demonstrate that, you know, we are a pedigree team and we have got the potential, and I'm convinced that we will get invited to other areas outside of Asia. For me, we have to play rugby outside of Asia. If we do that, we've got a chance. If we keep playing in our own back garden, we'll only be as good as we ever have been, and that's the reality of it. So
set the bar higher and then tell boys, this is where you have to go.
Flag firmly in the sand. I've said it so many times. Win, lose or draw, one thing is for certain, that we have now embraced true professionalism. We've embraced true commercialisation, and you know, these players are going to play in a different pond, and really this is the start of a very, very exciting rock and roll time for Sri Lanka.
And as the CEO, now can you tell us, do you think rugby will one day dethrone cricket as the king of sort of sports here in Sri Lanka?
It's interesting, you know, I would love to stand on this chair and proclaim that. And it's interesting because at the press conferences I've been at, the president, Asanga Sivaranatne, he's convinced. He's convinced that rugby can do it, and
hallelujah.
And he's been here a lot longer than I have. So I'm following Asanga's lead. And to be fair, let's get this tournament over and done with, and let's see where we are. But one thing is for certain, Sri Lanka cricket better watch out, because we are in town, and and we, you know, we're here to develop Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka cricket has put Sri Lanka on the map hugely. I followed Sri Lanka cricket for many years in England.
I see.
And
what a cricket fan as well.
Fantastic. I mean, I was fortunate enough to meet Kumar Sangakkara quite recently, and you know, these guys are role models around the world, but they put Sri Lanka on the map. And rugby, we can do the same. We can drive tourism. We can drive all the products that Sri Lanka are known for through sport. And I want rugby to come to the party. And I'm sure it will.
And it's about time, right?
It's about time. And let me tell you, there will be an after party on Saturday as well.
On that note, I think you need to tell everyone again what they can expect when they come for the match tomorrow, which is Madagascar versus Sri Lanka at the Racecourse grounds.
Well, I think they need to get there early, and I think they need to do what we do at Twickenham. We need to soak the atmosphere. And, you know, I'm trying to create an atmosphere that's
bring the Sri Lankan flags.
I suspect there'll be lots of Sri Lankan flags, and really, we don't just need Sri Lankan flags. We need Sri Lankan voices and cheers and singing. You know, we need everything Sri Lankan. I think you get there early, get the atmosphere. And sit back and let's just see how our boys do. The beauty of this game is that I absolutely don't know what's going to happen. I know we'll give it our best, and I know we're a fantastic team, but I promise you, I don't know how we're going to do it. And that's being neutral. I'm convinced that we can beat most on our day. But this is the beauty of the Surrender Cup. Madagascar and Poland, totally unknown. We've never played them before. The boys are going into battle with a faceless team almost.
Wow!
And
so it's going
to be this is all excitement,
crazy.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Get down there, you know, and
join in the fun.
Absolutely, and it is going to be great. It's going to be a great fun day.
Alright, so much promised here by Alistair on the show, and I'm sure he's going to deliver on all those promises, because the Serendip Cup promises to be a great tournament. But if you can't make it to catch the live action, which would be a shame, but don't worry, because we have live and exclusive coverage here on MTV Sports as well. All 3 matches will be covered, so that will be Sri Lanka versus Madagascar on the 26th of October, and Madagascar versus Poland on the 29th of October, and finally Poland versus Sri Lanka on the 1st of November. It's going to be a great week for Sri Lankan rugby at an international level. So thank you so much, Alistair, for being with us on the show this morning. It's been great to have you on a Friday.
Pleasure.
All the best for your tournament as well, and we hope that it exceeds the expectations that you have set for the tournament. And all the best to you. Alright, so that's the end of our show today. So from Jason, Banu and I, we wish you all a good day. Bye bye.